Session, which we're bringing to you in conjunction with my colleagues at Amplified Soccer and at Goal Nation. I'm going to be talking about my take on deliberate practice, my take on deep practice, which I call intentional training. A lot of this is going to be taken from my new book, Soccer Tough 2, which should be out in the next few months. Some of it has been written about in my books, Soccer Brain and Soccer Tough, the first Soccer Tough book. But a lot of this is sort of from my learnings over the past few years working with players from the Premiership, from the English Championship, and across Europe. But just before we get on to intentional training, I just want to recap some of the things I spoke about in my first webinar just briefly, because it's a lovely sort of introduction to today's subject. My passion is to take a very traditional model of coaching. As we can see here, the technical, the tactical, the physical, and the psychosocial components of coaching, and break that up. You know, to me, this is an example of a four-corner model used by the English Football Association. And look, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it's not effective. I just think it can be even more effective. I think we can create a visual that can help us as coaches be even better, even more effective when it comes to developing players and helping them perform more consistently under pressure. So how am I going to deconstruct this model? Well, if our business is about helping players develop and helping players perform, I say this. This is my passion. I say the psychology and the social sides of coaching drive the technical, tactical, and physical sides of coaching. That doesn't mean that the technical, tactical, and physical sides are irrelevant. Clearly, I'm not saying that. That would be like denying the presence of the sun and the moon and the sky. They're important, but to me, the cornerstones of effective coaching, of world-class coaching, of the 21st century coach, is to be world-class at the psychological areas and the social areas, the communication, the listening skills, the coaching culture, if you like. And that's my passion. I think these interact. I think what is technique without psychology, without focus, without confidence? What is tactical execution without understanding, without listening, without distraction control, without self-belief? Can players really demonstrate physicality on the pitch if they're not brimming with confidence, self-efficacy, if they're not able to deal with the adversity that's thrown at them on a moment-by-moment basis as they compete? So today's seminar, but actually my whole life's work, really does revolve around this image here. I am passionate that we as soccer coaches, if we take this model, we can be better at what we do. And I think in terms of soccer players, and this is very much the model I use in Soccer Tough 2, is helping soccer players put psychology and the social side of their game on a pedestal, because the other areas follow the psychology and the social side of things. So today, I'm going to really pinpoint the area of learning within the psychology and the social side of things. And hey, look, I'm sure there's going to be things in this presentation, this webinar, that you agree with, things you disagree with, things that are new, things that you do already. And that's okay. If you come away with one or two ideas, I'll be absolutely thrilled. But as we go along, please do think of questions. Please do challenge me. I will try to answer as best I can. And my background is from an individual sport. I was a professional golfer and then a professional golf coach. And when I started to get involved, once I'd done all my psychology qualifications, and I started to get involved in soccer about a decade and a half ago at non-league level in English football, I was just fascinated at the complexity that lay in front of a soccer coach. When I say complexity, because although a sport like golf can be complex and can be highly technical, where I found it very complex is, well, how does a soccer coach coach the individual and the team? That seems to be an enormity of challenge, and I became really passionate as I stood on the side of the pitch in non-league football, in the English Premier League and Championship, at academy level, at first team level. I became very interested in observing coaching behaviour related to how are these coaches coaching the individual with relation to the team, and it's such a tough thing to do. It's such a tough thing to do, and I think it's the great soccer coaching challenge. I really do. And I've always asked myself this question: how can we optimize individual learning within a team environment while still focusing on the team? So how can we optimize individual learning in a team environment while still focusing on the team? And my time in contracts, when I had contracts at QPR, at West Ham, at Fulham, and I stood on the side of the pitch at academy level, at development level, sometimes at first team level, and you know, I really felt that I noticed coaching gaps there. And that's absolutely not a criticism of the soccer coaches I've worked with, because I've seen some of the best sports coaching I've ever witnessed. But the coaching gaps were really related to discrepancies in coaching individuals. Quite often, coaches hadn't created a culture of coaching the individual, of helping players have individual development programs. And this is a real bugbear of mine, because every single week during the season, during the English Premier League season, I'm contacted by players who play in the EPL, who play in the Championship, League One, League Two, non-league. And one of the first questions I'm asking them when I sit down with them is, well, what's your development program? What are you trying to achieve? What's your strengths? What's your weakness? What are you trying to improve? And I often get a blank look. I get a blank stare. And that's often because they just don't have an individual development program. And to me, this is where individual success can break down and team success can break down. And there really needs to be better coaching solutions here, in my opinion. You know, when I watch soccer players train, I think for the majority of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the time, they're not training as effectively as they can do. They're not training as effectively as they can do. They are constantly showing the same habits and patterns that get them into problems during a match situation, that prevent them from learning and developing and improving. And that's because the coach is busy coaching the team. The coach is busy seeing the situation in its entirety. We need to help young players take control of themselves, take that self-learn, take that learning themselves, take it seriously, develop themselves, because so often that doesn't happen. I've watched young players do the same things time and time again. Another thing I've noticed as well, if I just come to an image of the brain, and again, I think this is a fascinating thing, the dichotomy, the difference between match day and training. I find that players train in the mentality of how they should play. Let me say that again, because it's really important to understand. I find, or have found, in my decade and a half working with players at all age ranges, at all levels of the game, they train in a mindset, in a mentality that is akin to playing.